We're recording.
And everyone can hear me okay? We good?
Yep.
Yes.
And I promoted everyone to presenter status, so I think we're good to go. Thanks again, everyone, for coming. This is the February regular meeting of the Santa Monica Disabilities Commission. I'm going to start by taking roll call. How do I say your name, Cynthia? Your last name?
Oh, Cinzia, and my last name's Paganuzzi.
Paganuzzi?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to take roll call. Are you? Is Commissioner Paganuzzi here?
Yes.
Commissioner Antonini?
Present.
Commissioner Legalis?
Here.
Commissioner Casmea Dodge?
Present.
And Commissioner Elliott's here. We have 5 and a quorum. Just want to give folks heads up. A lot of people are not feeling well and not going to make it today, so we're a little short than usual, but just want to give folks a heads up, and thanks again for coming tonight. This is our February meeting, our first meeting of the year. This is next month's going to be a big month because we're able to start meeting in person, but we'll get to that on the agenda. But I'll just jump right into our first item. Our special agenda item is the swearing of our new commissioner, Cinzia Paganuzzi. I'll get it right eventually. So what's going to happen is I'm going to, there's an oath of affirmation. I'm going to say some things and then you repeat after me and you put your right hand up.
Okay.
So you can start by putting your right hand up. I'm going to say the oath, and then you'll repeat it back to me, okay?
Mm-hmm.
I state your name.
I, Cinzia Paganuzzi,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
or affirm that I will
or affirm that I will
support the Constitution of the United States
support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and that I will faithfully
and that I will faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duty
of the Disabilities Commission.
of the Disabilities Commission.
This was subscribed and sworn to me before the 6th day of February 2023. Congratulations. Thank you for joining the commission. And just want to give you a chance to just introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about yourself, what made you interested in the Disabilities Commission.
Basically, I read it on the news, on our regular news little newspaper, and I thought, well, that might be a good thing since I'm disabled, and possibly I could, help make decisions and so on.
Great. That's a awesome reason to join. A lot of folks join for similar reasons.
I've also been a resident in Santa Monica since 1976.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
well, we came from, I was born in Montreal, Canada, and then I was 3 years old. So, and then we came down to Santa Monica. We had a cousin here, and that's why we came down.
Great.
Yeah.
Does any of the commissioners have any questions for our new commissioner?
I do. I'm Vice Chair Legalis. Is there any particular area of disabilities that you would be interested in pursuing? Every commissioner who comes in usually has, one thing that that they're passionate about. In my case, it's captioning, because I am deaf and I'm a bilateral cochlear implant user. And I've worked with a variety of disabilities, but that's kind of, my primary focus, and, web accessibility. So So I didn't know if you came in with any particular project in mind that,
No, I didn't come in with a particular project in mind. I have multiple sclerosis and it's progressed late, like, in the past, I would say 15 years. I was diagnosed in 1990. So, it just has progressed and now I can't walk at all. And so that's just what I was thinking of.
that's good. So you have mobility issues and, projects that we might be interested in working on.
Mhm.
Getting around Santa Monica is
Yeah, yeah.
not an easy thing.
It's not easy getting around anywhere.
Sure.
So, but yes,
I have a
Catherine?
question.
okay.
Yeah, so since we can't see, I'm in a wheelchair. Are you in a wheelchair?
No, I probably should be. I just have
Oh,
I have a scooter, a little scooter, just because I didn't want a wheelchair, because I would go grocery shopping and I would hang my my
oh yeah.
groceries from the steering wheels.
No.
So,
Well, I just asked because I'm in a wheelchair, and so I'm especially interested in that aspect of the mobility
right,
issue. Is
right.
what I was current. Okay.
Yeah,
I
but my doctor has told me like you really should be in a wheelchair so then you could build muscle in your hands, if it wasn't an electric wheelchair. But if I got an electric wheelchair, I just felt like I'd have nowhere to hang my groceries.
Oh, well, I have an electric wheelchair and I have wonderful hooks all
Oh,
over the
okay.
wheelchair for to hang. And yeah, so and as far as I swim.
Oh,
So
okay.
moving, there's other we can move, if we can't move our legs, whatever, we can still,
Right.
move. But
Yeah.
anyway, we're getting
Yeah.
off there. We're getting
Yeah, I was part of the junior lifeguard in
Oh, great.
on the
Great.
beach like ages ago when I was young. And I did the whole, so I've done a lot of swimming and I love it. It's just that my legs don't move anymore. So that's
Yeah.
why,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, we're very
Well,
happy to have you aboard.
yes,
Okay. Thanks.
Yes.
ditto that.
Yes.
And it's nice to meet you and learn a little bit about you. And we look forward to working together for moving forward. So I'm going to keep the agenda moving. If you're following, we're going to go to item 5A, which is an announcement, a couple of them. One, just wanted to announce the Abilities Expo is coming up March 10th to 12th. It's at the LA Convention Center on Friday the 10th. It's 11 to 5. Saturday, the March 11th, 11 to 5, and Sunday, 11 to 4. You can go to their website and register for free. I can follow up and send a direct link. But this is just a good event. I've went to it a number of times. There's just all sorts of vendors in the disability space, assistive technology space, really good information, city, county partners, and Metro. Just it's a good learning opportunity and a good place to meet other folks with disabilities. And I like the technology piece of it and just getting resources. I also work for the county, and there's good stuff that I'm not aware of that I like to share with the people I work with. But just wanted to announce and let people know that's happening. And you can register for free. Another announcement is there's a number of trainings that commissioners are supposed to complete. And Noah, if you could help me out here, I know there's two of them. I'm trying to find them.
Yeah.
I believe that.
Sorry.
I'll go for it, Noah.
The first one was the cybersecurity training, which I believe you should have all completed, or else you would be locked out of your email account. Cynthia, you might have to complete it if you haven't. Okay, yeah. And then
Yeah, I think I did.
Okay, great.
I
And the
think
more current one is the harassment training.
Oh, yeah, I did. Mhm.
That'll take about 2 hours total. Do not let your computer go idle, or else it will think you have gone away and it will log you out. But yes, I believe most of the commissioners have finished that. I got a list and I have followed up individually with those who haven't. So yeah.
Thanks, Noe. Any questions about that? I think you got more information on your email, but I just wanted to remind folks about these trainings.
Yeah, yeah, I completed both of those trainings.
Great. Okay, I'm going to keep the agenda moving. If there's no more questions on 5A, I'm going to move to 5B, which is the 2023 Santa Monica homeless count. We participated again this year, so just want to give a shout out to our commission for participating again this year. I walked, our area had, I think, 5 people experiencing homelessness. A lot of the folks were sleeping in their cars. There weren't as many people in my particular area around Lincoln and Pico. Just around that area, not too many people in the streets, but we did notice a few folks sleeping in their cars. And I'm curious what the numbers, I heard mixed things. Some people didn't have people that they counted in their areas, some had a lot. So it'll be interesting what the numbers say. But yeah, the one thing I wanted to mention too is that there was just an interesting article from Rand Corporation, just you know, I'm proud that this is what we do every year, and we go out and we count, but we also have to be mindful of the limitations of a one-time count. This is just kind of one data point. We catch people at one day a year, and Rand gave kind of some of the limitations of that data. So as we think about, you know, planning our approach to addressing this crisis, we have to also take into account, you know, what a one-time count means, that it's usually an undercount. So whatever the numbers say, they're probably lower than the actual numbers. And Rand gets, you know, some models and some approximation, but one of the insights I got is whatever we count is going to be a little bit lower than what the actual number is, because we're only counting them one time a year at, you know, midnight to 2, 3 in the morning. But I am very glad that the community gets out there, and you know, that's something you can do, and we did it, and we participated in this for a number of years, and I plan on continuing to participate next year as well. Any questions about that? I just wanted to kind of give an update and give our commission a shout out.
I have one question. Were there enough volunteers this year to cover all the areas?
Yes, but barely. Someone from the staff said they met their mark of having enough volunteers, but it sounded like they were stressed to the last minute. Maybe Noah can chime in, but my understanding is they did cover all the census tracts. It was just that it was a close call.
Yeah.
But we did it.
I was there helping on the back end. We did send out about 2 or 3 staff groups. And then we had some people who came back and they volunteered. So we were good.
Cool.
When is the results going to be published?
That I do not know.
How long did the count end up taking?
I think it varies by where you get. Mine, I walked probably 4 miles or something. I got home maybe at 2 in the morning. But some folks were a little bit quicker if you had like one that you can do a lot in a car.
Right.
And if you knew the city and knew like the right way to drive and walk, like I was in an area I wasn't as familiar with, so maybe we could have cut off 20 minutes if we were more efficient. But it was a good exercise night.
I wish I could have joined. It was, yeah, unfortunately with an infant, I wasn't able to this year, but maybe next year.
Yeah, and I think it's maybe as a commission we can try and have some representation every year. And some folks plan to join and then got sick, so life happens too. But it's a good event and it's a good there's things we can do, and I'm glad we did it.
Did LA County do it the same night?
I believe so. It might be. That's a good question. I don't want to speak off the top of my head, but I think in past years it's been on 2 days, or I'm sure that information is publicly available. I just don't know.
Curious.
But it seems like a lot of cities are doing it at the same time.
Yeah.
Are there any more questions on 5B? I'm going to keep it moving to 5C. It's the Human Services Grant Program Proposal Review Panel. Let me pull up my notes. The city just put out an RFP to award funding from fiscal year 2023 to 2027. It's a competitive process for nonprofits programs in Santa Monica, and as part of that process, they're forming a review panel. And I think I brought it up at a previous meeting. There's an opportunity to submit an application, and just want to say I'm going to be joining that. So and I think some other folks from our commission applied and may be joining, but I got my email a couple weeks ago to participate.
I will be joining too.
Awesome.
Awesome.
So just wanted to again give us a shout out for participating in civic duties around Santa Monica and trying to keep the disability perspective in the review of the proposals. But I don't have too much more information. That I know the proposal period closed, and sometime this month I'll start that review panel. And that's about all I know. There's some scoring involved, review of proposals, but we'll learn more. And I'll update the commission when I get more insights. But thanks, Commissioner Link Ellis. I knew you applied. I didn't realize you got accepted, and you'll have some great insights and make sure they take into account some of the issues we talk about here. And maybe I can bring some around outcomes and data and other things and technology. So just glad to be a part of that process. And that's just the update I had on that. Are there any questions about that?
So what are the services? Like what can you do, or how can you help?
Go ahead.
Basically, nonprofits around Santa Monica, Wise and Healthy Aging, St. Joseph's, St. Francis, they all apply for grants for particular things.
Oh,
so that's
okay.
what RFP stands for, Request for Proposals. So I imagine the city does triage on them to begin with to make sure that they, fulfill the parameters of the grant. Their nonprofit status is current, and all that, so they have their ducks in a row. And then they will divvy up grants based on, I don't know, I have done a lot of grant reviews, whether it's education or OSHA or NIH. So it's for our standpoint, it's an end user. It's a consumer standpoint versus, an administrator, from the staff. So basically, we're just giving our input based on our perspective and what we know. And it's really interesting, and you really learn a lot about what's going on in the city.
Yeah. Okay.
They're still looking for applicants to do the grant review process. This is the first time, to my knowledge, they have done this, asking for people like us to join the review. I don't know if that's true or not, but this is my third term, and it's the first time I've ever heard of it. So
Okay.
I was really kind of excited about it.
And just to add a little more context, the city contributes about $8 million annually through this program to public and nonprofit organizations to improve well-being and quality life of vulnerable and low-income Santa Monica residents, including children, youth, and families, seniors, people with disabilities, and people experiencing homelessness. That's kind of the high-level overview. In the past, they've funded 19 community-based agencies and 35 distinct programs. So there's going to be a number of applicants to review, I'm guessing, through this process to divvy up those millions of dollars each year.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any more questions on that? If not, I'll keep the agenda moving. All right, item 5D. This is a big one. And Noah, I'm hoping you can chime in here as well. In-person Disabilities Commission meetings discussion. So February 28th, the end of the pandemic emergency, I'm not sure the official term, but ends in the state of California. And that has kind of a cascading effect on commissions and how we do business. And part of that is we're able to meet in person. I think we're required to meet in person starting March 1st. I think Noah, you have the details on where we'll be meeting, but you know, as the Disabilities Commission, I want to make sure we have all the accessibility needs and everything to make this meeting as productive as possible. And it's coming up next month, so partly to serve as a heads up, and I want to capture your needs and make sure we articulate them to the city so that we can do business moving forward. Noah, can you chime in with any insights about kind of the who, what, when, where of March is in-person site for meetings?
Yeah, definitely. So this applies to all boards and commissions. Nobody is given an exemption. So, you know, it's not like you're the only ones. But the room that y'all will be meeting in is called the SMI room. And it is in the Civic Center parking structure on the first floor, which is across the street from City Hall. They have basic technology, a couple of screens, mics. That's pretty much it. So I've already reached out to the chair and vice chair, asking them if there's anything in particular I should be looking out for or asking, and they did send me a couple of things. I did have a tour today, but I'm sick, so I couldn't go into the office. So I'll be rescheduling that for next week, and I'll get more of an idea of what is going on. Also, y'all can park in that parking structure, and we'll definitely have validations for you and any attendee.
You said this is on the first floor, so that means that no one will have to use an elevator, correct?
Depending where you park, yes, that is correct. But there is an elevator in that parking structure.
The reason why I ask is because there's only, well, there are two elevators, but in case one is out, the one near the room, I am a CERT team member, and our training room is on the second floor, the second whatever. But for people in wheelchairs, if the elevator goes out, there's kind of nowhere to go. So I'm putting that out there, that's all, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I'll see if I can get connected to anybody who works in, I don't even know what to call it, parking structure, and see if they can give me a heads up if the elevator is ever out.
Okay.
And then can you send us the commission just the public transportation info and just what the bus lines are, just so we're one click away, or a hyperlink to the best stop to get off of and which lines to take? And
okay, yeah.
And is my understanding correct that the mode program is not an option?
The what, I'm sorry?
The mode program, the program with Lyft, because the meetings are at 6:30, I'm a little concerned about folks being able to get to and from their homes.
It ends at 5. And it doesn't, and shorter hours on Saturday, and I'm not sure about Sunday. And it doesn't work on holidays. Sundays are holidays. It's not what you call a very user-friendly program, and part of that is a little background history is that when it first started, they started with the same budget as Dial-A-Ride, which was $600,000 a year. But when they did it with Lyft and people who were using Lyft, and you had the mode program put on your phone, so you still press Lyft, but it'll come up mode if you stay within Santa Monica or go to Ronald Reagan or a few places. But in the first year, within half a year, they had already spent $2 million on it, and they realized that there was no way that they could sustain it. So then they upped the age and they shortened the hours. It's not very helpful for us. I would imagine that perhaps people who need to take lifts and get reimbursed.
Yeah, no, I think maybe that's somewhere we got to talk about. I'm really concerned about the transportation barriers. If you could inquire about any reimbursement for folks if they have to take a lift or something, if they need accessible transport. This is a major barrier, which we'll talk about a little bit more in a future agenda item tonight. But if you could provide as much transportation related information and inquire about more reimbursement options than just parking reimbursement, that would be super helpful.
Yeah, definitely. Also, I see that Michelle Gray has their hand raised.
Great. Just before I bring her in, what's the protocol for public comment on items? Can we just do we have to do it at the end? Can we do it now and then continue talking?
So you can call on any public input on any after each item, but that comment has to relate to the item. Item 10, which is public input, can be anything that is not on the agenda, but under your purview. And yeah.
Okay. Thanks for that clarity. Michelle, can you unmute yourself and share a comment?
Yes,
Hey,
I
Michelle.
actually, hi. I raised my hand when I did because I was going to answer about mode also. I don't know if it's something that you guys have on an agenda, but the city's currently violating ADA requirements for comparable paratransit service to fixed service routes. And it's something I brought to the city attorney's attention, and I haven't gotten much response about it. And yes, you can be reimbursed, I believe up to $50 a month for the commissioners for any expense relating to your work on the commission, as long as you just turn your receipts into NOAA. I saw this on the agenda and I wanted to ask if you guys had discussed either for your own arrangements, logistics for the meetings, or on behalf of other disabled residents in the city, if you have discussed or talked to the city at all about the problem with stopping hybrid meetings and not having remote options for people to participate. Because it's a big concern for me. I've been fighting it since, for those who don't know me, I'm chair of the Housing Commission, and I'm disabled. And the hybrid meetings have been a blessing and such an extreme increase in accessibility to me throughout the pandemic. And I'm very sorry to see that go. And I feel like it's going to disenfranchise a lot of people from participating both in public and as commissioners themselves. That was my question and comment. Thanks.
Commissioner Elliott, may I ask you one question? The hybrid meetings, has it been going on with Teams and in person for the whole time, or part of the time, or?
No, they went on through the platform they used before was called Blue Jeans. It was a little wonky, and then they transitioned to Teams recently. But I guess they weren't genuinely hybrid in that they didn't have in-person meetings, although City Council did eventually move to in-person meetings just for the council. And while the public could show up, they still had, I guess for a while, I thought they had remote options, but then they removed those. I've been able to make public comments remotely at city council meetings by asking for a reasonable accommodation, and they do have a phone number you can call to make a phone, but they don't make that available to everyone, and you have to ask on a case-by-case basis. But yeah, we've been up in March, we'll start meeting in person, but we've been meeting on on video conferencing, and people are able to call in or log in on the computer to give their comments and to watch the meeting from wherever they are. So, yeah.
Thank you, Commissioner Gray. Those are great insights, and thank you again for sharing the information about the $50 reimbursement and around the mode program and possibly not being in compliance with ADA. And just to circle back on your comment, we've been talking about just our concerns about not having a virtual option. Later on the agenda, where we have a item, we have a ad hoc about hybrid meetings, and we also had a ad hoc on digital equity, and we sent a letter. And one of our recommendations was hybrid meetings, and that letter is, I believe it's in the last month's agenda and publicly available on our website. But we share some of those concerns about taking away access. And that's a concern. I mean, yeah, I'm concerned about it, and we'll talk about it probably a little bit later when we talk about our ad hocs. But really appreciate your insights on this.
Sure. I also just wanted to mention real quickly, I'm going to try and stay to hear that part of the agenda. But the city has recently hired a new position, a new person for position who is the diversity, equity, and Noah, can you help me? The DEI manager?
Inclusion.
Inclusion, thank you. The new diversity, equity, and inclusion manager. And I thought the position was broad enough that that might be a good contact to try and, be a contact point with the city to see if he can help advocate for some of these, or represented, less represented communities with the city. So.
No, thank you for that comment, and I definitely feel this issue falls under the equity and inclusion to make sure these meetings are accessible to everybody, and diversity to all three. And that's a good person to reach out to. Thank you for that. And there was one more thing, Noe, before I lose the thought. I also gave some recommendations. I want to make sure the restrooms are accessible to everybody. Did you check that at all? Or you haven't been on the tour, but that's something to definitely look at. That's a concern we have as well.
Yeah, I haven't been in person, but I did ask when I spoke on the phone with them. There is 2 bathrooms inside that room. Yeah.
I know maybe other folks can chime in here, but there at least one or more stalls are accessible.
I will know more when I see it in person. Sorry, that was just not
I just want to make sure these get asked. Sorry to put you on the spot.
No, it's fine. It's just not something that I thought of when I was speaking to them on the phone. But yes, it is something I will follow up on.
Thank you.
I'd also like to ask that you make sure that there's plenty of lighting, good lighting. our former room had a loop, a hearing loop, that didn't work very well, but that is something that some people may ask for. I don't use one. City council's looped.
Yeah,
Commissioner Casmay Dodge.
yeah, I wanted to see about the issue of the bathrooms accessibility, especially since in our the old one we had, you know, over at the Wise and Healthy Aging where we used to meet. I mean, I couldn't use it. I couldn't open the door, no way. So, you know, it needs to have one of those push things, door open, and then on the other side, door open, that kind of thing. That was one thing, of course, to draw attention to. And the other thing was, like, for me, the difficulty getting there in my wheelchair, especially at night. And if it rains, I can't take the wheelchair out. And, you know, all those things, it certainly could be made. It can be made more accessible to everyone, you know, with the hybrid and all that. So I just wanted to state those two things. That's all.
Yeah, I wrote these down. So I will definitely follow up on these. And if y'all have any more, please let me know right now or in a separate email so that I can check next week.
And probably we need bottled waters and snacks of some sort, because sometimes these go a couple hours.
Okay, thank you.
I think we had those in the past, right? Or did
Yeah.
people bring those on their own?
They don't,
They-
city discourages, I don't know if they outlaw them, bottled waters. So they would bring in pitchers of city water. If you're picky about your water, you better bring your own bottle.
I just don't want to be thirsty or hungry. That's the challenge I want to figure out. But no, if you could inquire about just drinks and some sort of sustenance during the meetings, if we have a budget, or if it's BY, bring your own, or if it's not bottled waters, if we bring our own water bottle and we get access to water. Just want to be clear and be able to communicate that back to the commission.
Yeah, I'll ask.
Thank you. And again, our next meeting is going to be the first Monday of March. So what is that? That's March 6th. That's 6:30. That's our regular meeting. That's our cadence. So it's always going to be the first Monday of the month. Just the big difference next month is it's in person instead of virtually. And that's how it's going to be moving forward. So I just want to get you guys kind of normalize that cadence. And I envision this first one is going to be a learning opportunity, find out what works, what doesn't, and then that'll inform some recommendations and some conversations we're going to have because I have a feeling it's not going to be 100%, but we'll give it our college try. Any more comments, thoughts on this agenda item?
I'm just going to make a suggestion that maybe we all get there early, first meeting, just to get a lay. I'd like to see it before the meeting, but just to get a lay of the land and see if we can work some of the bugs out so that we're not there till midnight.
Okay.
I'd like to make a suggestion. Maybe we could have a little diagram map. You can email us a or put it on, you know, we have a map exactly where to go.
That's a great suggestion.
The first time I went to the CERT room, which is on the second floor, I went every which way and couldn't find it. And of course, it's in a very logical place, but it, you know, especially if you don't drive.
So a map would be helpful. Make sure we find the right room. Try and get there early. I got to work, but I'll try and get there at least by 6 or 5:30, whenever I can. And if you know you can't make it, just let me know as soon as possible, because I want to make sure we have a quorum, especially if we gotta, make all the effort to get there. This was a good discussion. Just want to throw it out one more time if any more thoughts. And if you don't think of anything now, feel free to email me and or Noe with any thoughts that come up. Are we good to move on?
Mhm.
All right, I'm going to move on to 5E. Excuse me. I just wanted to kind of start a discussion. I mean, about the responsibilities, jurisdiction, and authority of the Disabilities Commission. On the agenda, that it's a hyperlink, if you noticed. And if you click on it, it gives it takes you to a page that outlines the power and duties of the commission. It's also on the Santa Monica Commission website. And it kind of outlines what our role is. This has been just through the pandemic, things have gotten off kind of cadence with, the thinking we might get consolidated and then only being able to meet quarterly. And now that we're kind of getting things regular, starting next month, meeting in person every month, maybe hybrid. I wanted to revisit, like, now let's get back to doing the business we're supposed to be doing. There's no roadblocks anymore. So just kind of wanted to start that conversation and start getting those resources to outline what our powers and duties are, and start the conversation and say, when should we start, following those protocols? And I'll just read them out real quick if you don't mind. The first is the Disabilities Commission shall have the power and be required to act in an advisory capacity to City Council in all matters pertaining to people with disabilities in Santa Monica and their needs as a group. B, work cooperatively with city agencies, officials, boards, commissions, and departments in developing educational and informational materials about programs about the abilities, rights, and responsibilities of people with disabilities. C, hold an annual public hearing to receive community input on matters relevant to the general scope of the commission. I want to put a star next to this one. This is something we haven't done, and I kind of wanted to think about maybe we should be doing. I think this got put on the back burner because of all the wildness through the pandemic, but this is something I'd like to bring back. All right, moving on. D, study and make recommendations to the City Council regarding the special problems that people with disabilities in Santa Monica face in employment, transportation, housing, programmatic and physical access to city services and facilities, and programs stemming from barriers encountered in everyday life. E, work cooperatively with city agencies, officials, boards, commission, and departments in making recommendations on the development and implementations of programs and practices promoting disability awareness and the integration of people with disabilities into city life. And finally, F, review the city's annual Americans with Disabilities Act compliance review and update, and provide input to staff on the review process and content of the report. This is another one I want to revisit because this seems pretty important and official, and some I want to get back to doing regularly. Just want to, we've been in a emergency pandemic the past 3 years, so, and we thought, we faced an existential crisis. We thought there might not be a commission. Now we're going to have a commission, and we're out of the emergency stages. So I want to get things back to whatever normal is. So that's, I just wanted to introduce that, introduce this document, just start kind of we only have 5 folks today, so this is definitely going to be a continuing topic, but kind of just wanted to get some culture around this, get some buy-in around this, and I know we just initiated a new commissioner, and I thought this would be a good topic to bring up as well. But any thoughts about this?
I would like to see, I mean, this is my 3rd term, and I've never seen the annual review that we were supposed to look at and make comments on. And the other thing is, there's somebody, that's supposed to be our ADA coordinator. And I don't know who that person is. The last person I knew was Margaret Wilkins, Maggie Willis, excuse me. But I don't think she does it anymore. I've had a few people call me and ask me who it was. And I just said, you have to call the city and ask, because I don't know. So it would be really helpful if we had this ADA liaison or coordinator, what do you want to call her, come to a meeting and come with, a document that they're required to do, even if it's not in, the full formal state. But there's obviously something that had to be generated, I would imagine, for the state. I just don't know, but I think we should really look into this, because I think this can be, going forward, our new normal that we can spring from.
That's a great suggestion. I know the contact person, the name is Myrna Medina. Maybe Noah, can you facilitate kind of just a warm introduction? I've reached out, but just because I want to get kind of reestablishing some of these formalities of our commission. And I think that would be a good kind of starting point, another warm introduction, and just see how we can start the process of just getting where are we at with a compliance review and update? How do we do a public hearing? Those are kind of the 2 questions. So basically, how can we restart up C and F of this document?
Yeah, let me look into that.
Thanks, Noah. Is there any, maybe some of the commissioners who have been on here a little longer, and did you guys ever hold a public hearing, or?
None that I remember, that I recall. I will reach out to past commissioners who I know and see if something that they did, starting back, and maybe, went by the wayside for one reason or another. I think, we've had 3 terrible years, and, we just got by the skin of our teeth. So I think, we have to be a little patient, but we don't have, there is still a sense of urgency for all the things that happened to people with disabilities during the pandemic, when there were really no services for us, which made it
there's some concerning issues that there's one issue I'm concerned about, just as Medicaid re-enrollments. Not quite on topic, but we got to make sure everyone keeps their insurance in our city, even our houseless neighbors. I digress.
One of the things that we haven't discussed here, which has always been a big piece of our commission, is mental health. And I mean that in the school level, on the work level. I think that needs to be addressed or discussed at some point, and perhaps we can find somebody who comes out of the city who is, helps coordinate the mental health response.
And that would be something I'd like to include in the scope of a public hearing, is definitely a subsection of the hearing just on mental health. That's kind of something I had in mind, but yeah, It's one of the top issues that keeps coming up locally, county, state, country.
Well, May is Mental Health Awareness Month, so it's possible maybe that we can discuss putting a panel together or using that as some kind of, maybe that's where we invite the public.
I'll go, Commissioner Kesmia Dodge.
I was wondering, I know that right now the mental health, no, it's all these disability commissions have gotten together to file a lawsuit against the state of California, Newsom, for the new law that allows the mandatory, of the mentally ill homeless, the mandatory placement of them into a house, something, that whatever that was decided. And so I think it was certainly, I would like to know, as far as a panel discussion, maybe as to what's going on. Why I don't really understand why I remember that I voted for that law. They came, I don't know if you remember, Nancy, they came to the meeting years ago and asked us to vote on whether we would support a law like that. And most of us did. It was like, it was a majority of us voted to allow the mandatory housing of mentally ill homeless people. So I think that's an issue that needs to be addressed.
Do you think you could research and find the number, the assembly number or city of the law? Because this, I don't know anything about this disability commission's move to sue California. I maybe just totally went over my head, but
It's in the news. It's around Care Court. It was passed last by the assembly and the state, and signed by the governor last legislative session. And I think the lawsuit, it wasn't commissions. It was led by I think Disability Rights California and other agencies in the disability rights space. But it's been in the news, so I'm sure you could, if you Google Care Court and case with the California Supreme Court, you can get more insights around this.
I believe it's SB 1338, if you want to Google that.
Oh, thank you.
I just know it was scheduled to get implemented in LA County in December of this year. And then after that timeline came into place, this lawsuit was filed with the California Supreme Court. So I'm sure we'll hear more about this in the near future.
Okay.
I think we're digressing a little bit. Just want to circle back to the topic around just maybe this is something we should bring back in a future meeting. Take some time to review kind of the role. It sounds like there's some interest. We'll follow up with having Noe do an introduction to Miss Medina, and we'll invite her to come by and talk about how we can reestablish some of these protocols that are outlined in the responsibilities, jurisdiction, and authority of our commission. Because I do want to start doing that. We're at the new normal, March 1. We've gotten a lot of excuses the past few years, no more. So just want to throw out one more opportunity to make any comments, ask any questions on this item.
One thing I'd like to mention is that in the past, pre-pandemic, we were asked, and maybe Noah can weigh in on this, that we wouldn't bring things to city council's attention, that anything we did had to be tied to something that was on city council agenda that we would react to. So, we should be able to come up and say, hey, you know, we have this problem with accessible bathrooms, or, you know, people who are trying to volunteer their time to work in the city but have no transportation, can't afford to do it. We can't. I just think we have to work the kinks out.
Yeah, I think getting a better working relationship with city council is something that we're working on and want to continue doing better. And being an advisory board, so we need to have a better sense of what they're doing, and they need to have a better sense of the issues that we see with our specialty and expertise. I just want to check one more time if there's comments from commissioners, and then I'm going to open it up to public comment on this item. Okay, Michelle, if you want to unmute yourself for 2 minutes.
Sure. I just wanted to mention about the city council that there is a dedicated item on city council's agenda, item 13, that's expressly for city boards and commissions reports. And historically, this was never used. I recently struggled mightily with lots of senior city staff in order to get something agendized from the Housing Commission. And they seem to have now accepted that this is open for submissions. So I encourage you to, you know, keep yourselves connected to the city council by submitting item 13 agenda items for the city council. They have to be, you know, you can submit them to the city manager, or you could possibly ask that, you know, one of the city council members to sponsor it for you, and they'll schedule it at their convenience. But it seems like a good avenue, and I hope all the boards and commissions will start to use it more.
Great idea.
That was it.
Thank you for that comment. That's a really helpful insight, and something we'll definitely look into. Thank you, Michelle. Okay, I'm gonna move on the agenda to 5F. Are we cool with that? 5F, reports from ad hoc committees and liaisons, and discussion and possible action on reestablishing and or establishing additional ones. Before, I'm gonna grab a water. Give me 1 second. Sorry about that. Okay, 5FI, ad hoc committee on digital equity. I just want to give an update, and Commissioner Linkalis, feel free to chime in as well. So one of the action items from last meeting, we moved to send the letter a second time, with some minor modifications like updating the date. I think we changed a sentence or two to improve the language. We made those changes. We sent it out again. And as a result of that, I think one city council member responded saying they were good suggestions. And then we also met with city council member Zwick and Negrete, and talked about it a little more in detail. We've reached out to other ones in radio silence, and I've sent follow-up emails and some radio silence. So I'm gonna follow up again. But I just wanted to give that update, and they seem really, they liked our insights. I mean, I think it was a good letter, and relevant, and we put a lot of research into it and had actual actionable insights, and specific references. And just one update is a big part of that letter was talking about the web content accessibility guidelines, and the new version is scheduled to be officially released in April. So that'll be another thing the city we'll have to eventually be compliant with, version 2.2. So just wanted to give that update. Commissioner Linkalis, did I miss anything on that?
No, I don't think so. I just thought that Councilmember Negretti, who told us a story about, her bird's eye view of, homeless situation was she was looted during the George Floyd riots and then was broken into and looted again. She's a small business owner. She has a music store. She gives music lessons. She sells instruments. She's very active in the community and has children in school and all that kind of thing. And the second or third time she was robbed, there was a woman who was a witness and said, and identified the person who robbed her store. So as a result, the person was arrested, and by process of being prosecuted. And then she learned that the woman was living in her car. And she said to her, I promise you that you'll never spend another night sleeping in your car. And the first thing she did was put her in a hotel for 2 weeks on her own dime. And then she tried to help her through the system, through vouchers, through, all of those things that able-bodied people have a hard time doing. And she was just, I mean, I'm sure if we all did it, we'd have a much deeper understanding of it. But she said, Freddie said, why don't you go to San Michelle? And she said, why don't you try sleeping there one night? You'll see. I'm petite. I'm a woman. I'm disabled. It would be the last place in the world that I would go. So I guess she tried to get in there and they wouldn't let her. They let her tour it, but they wouldn't let her stay there. But she just was talking about how she was so unaware of all of the obstacles. So I think she's somebody who is very empathetic, and will work with us. Obviously, there are how many other council members that we have to work with. I think we have to find out who's going to back us and support us and help us strategically. That's why Chair Elliott's been doing a great job getting in touch with people. I mean, out of the box, we have two people, Council Member Soros, is that her name? Sorosi?
Yeah, she's newer.
So,
Yeah, we'll continue reaching out and just to council member Para responded via email to our letter, so that was good. Just to get a response and appreciated the recommendations and the thoughtfulness that went into it. But I'd like to talk to everybody about these issues of digital equity. And I'm thinking definitely after March too, to re-engage, just because sometimes we get pushed back. Well, we're still in an emergency, and after March 1, all those things that kept they've been giving us pushback over won't be valid. They expire. So strategically, I was thinking that might be a good time to kind of do another push. And the first week of March, we'll have a sense of what in person is like. So we'll have some more insights on where we need to get better in terms of making these processes inclusive. So I think we've been doing a lot of work, and we're going to get more information over the next month to be in an even better position to make recommendations. That's just my kind of perspective.
I would like to ask if you would make a copy of our digital equity letter available to our new commissioner so that she can see, where we're coming from, and anybody else who wants it.
I will send that to you, Paganucci. Did I do it right?
Paganuzzi, yes.
Paganuzzi. I'm gonna get it. Paganuzzi. Okay. I will send that to you following this meeting. Great. Okay, and then one final thing is part of it too was we were going to move to close this after doing that final deliverable of sending the letter the second time. So I'm going to move to sunset the ad hoc committee on digital equity. Do I have a second?
I second.
All right, I'm going to do do I need to roll call, Noe?
No. Only when there's money, right?
No, it'd be good to roll call to make sure that you're all in agreement.
Okay, Commissioner Paganuzzi,
Yes.
Commissioner Link Ellis,
Yes.
Commissioner Antonini,
Yes.
Commissioner Casmay Dodge,
Yes.
and yes. So we sunsetted that one. That was some good work. And I'm going to keep the agenda going. 5FII Ad Hoc Committee on Digital Equity Hybrid Meetings with Microsoft Teams and in-person components. Just an update. It ties to this is a topic we brought up when we talked to both city council members. We talked about this earlier in this meeting. And there's a recent development too. Malibu is now doing hybrid meetings, hybrid council meetings. So, and then the County of Los Angeles is doing it. So there's models to follow. I think all we'd have to do is just where there's a hyperlink that goes to Zoom, it would be a hyperlink that goes to Teams. So this is something I'm going to continue to push on. Yeah, I just, this is just a key issue.
Will it be possible to ask the County of LA or Malibu what equipment they're using for this? Because I think one of the big challenges to making it work correctly or making it work well for everyone, particularly people who are remote, is making sure that there is good teleconferencing equipment in the room so that someone who is tending remotely doesn't really feel like a second-class citizen by doing so. So if they're having good experiences with the equipment they're using, that I think would be a good model for us to follow, as you mentioned.
I also think, Commissioner Elliott, that we should approach David White again. And I think when he told us if we had any real issues to come to him, I think this is the biggest one that we've had. If we want to keep up the quality of commissioners, we need to make things accessible for them. It's just the cost of doing business.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's time to re-engage them. Yeah, we should do that. I'm sure there's a contact information because I just saw a news article about the Malibu, them implementing hybrid, and then it had a link to their website. So I'm sure there's a contact person I could shoot an email to and find out what they're doing and what we can emulate. And that saves cost to our city because being the first one to implement this stuff, there's all the costs with discovery and analysis. And I think other cities have done this. So we just got to figure out how to make it happen. I've talked about this a lot. I'm a little frustrated about it, but we'll keep doing it. Any thoughts on this? There's a public comment, but want to check in with the commissioners before I open it up.
Well, I'm willing to contact the Culver City Disabilities coordinator. He does the senior and the disabilities. I knew the former staffer very well, and he has moved on to a different, another city. So I'm that's a person that's easily accessible, and I'll see what they're doing. I see from their agenda that they're doing one more teleconference, and then in March, their meetings appear to be in person, or at least they're not Zoom. So I think between Culver City, West Hollywood, and perhaps Beverly Hills, they do have a disabilities commission, I believe. Find out what they're doing.
Yeah, that's a good call. I think Malibu is starting the end of March with their new thing. So maybe I could shoot an email to them and gather information that we could share and then we'll gather information from the in-person. In between all that info, we'll have some real good information on how to move forward. All right, I'm going to open up to public comment. Michelle, if you want to unmute for 2 minutes.
Thank you. I share your frustration, Chair Elliott. I've had numerous conversations with senior city staff about this, and they continue to repeat that they don't have the money to upgrade the infrastructure necessary in order to hold hybrid meetings or have any remote option. And I understand that there may not be money for the optimal realization of what we're all thinking about, but it's 2023. And, you know, when I was told that they couldn't make a reasonable accommodation for me to speak at a city council meeting, someone gave me their cell phone number and stood up for me and held the phone up on speakerphone so I could talk to city council. You know, the first principle of reasonable accommodations of disability is an open, interactive dialogue and creativity. So I think that given the, you know, ubiquity of technology, and what should be sufficient minimal resources with the city and staff, that I think all that's missing is the will and the creativity, because even I think it's entirely reasonable for us to insist on them putting together at least a temporary fix that allows for hybrid participation, even if it's not the optimal arrangement that they'd like to eventually, you know, completely upgrade their facilities. But I feel like they're not prioritizing this. And while I realize that the budget is tight with the city, they do manage to find money for all sorts of things that are not as pressing as this. So I
Thank you for your comment, Michelle Gray. Yeah, I really like that comment about creativity. And I mean, I'd be open to at our meeting in March to bring my laptop and figure it out. I mean, we figured out Teams. It was messy the first couple times, and you get better over time. And it wouldn't be perfect. There's probably some hardware we may need to get it perfect, but I think we can do get better than not having it, better than nothing, and make it available to more people if we don't have it at all. And then we still have to advocate that they, I mean, yeah, this is one of those, this is a hill to die on. This is one of those big issues. I'm having struggling seeing how in 2023, how we really have a robust disabilities commission without the ability to have a virtual option. I mean, even though the state of emergency is in, there's still COVID and RSV, and some folks have serious risks. I mean, they need a shot to call in if they don't feel comfortable, or even, you know, our commissioners are sick today. They may have had an option to come if they're feeling a little bit better, but I wouldn't have felt comfortable having them come in person. So yeah, this is, I think, kind of first steps is we have some folks to reach out to. We have to, after our meeting in March, we have to have some robust feedback on just what we need to do to make that hybrid. But yeah, this is a frustrating one for me. And this was included in our letter as one of the main recommendations from the last ad hoc. And we'll continue to, when we reach out to city council, this will be a topic that's going to come up continuously with city council. And when we reach out to the city manager again, it's 2023. I mean, yeah, I kind of went ad nauseum. I don't know if I have any fresh ideas, but just that this is something we're going to keep going for. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
And anyone have any more thoughts on this? I don't want to beat a dead horse.
I mean, I just like to, echo that, because it's clear that it has not been a priority, because, you know, sort of knowing the timescale of any sort of procurement of equipment and sort of arranging everything, like it's it's clear that it's not going to happen by March, you know. So I think we are going to have to, I mean, even if they do, you know, permit it at some point, like I think in the initial stages, we will have to be a bit creative about how we'll actually implement this, but it really needs to be a priority, and it doesn't seem like it has been.
Well, we can ask that we do it as a trial, you know, like Little Coco, you know, that delivers food. That is a pilot program. That I don't know if they make money from it or if it costs them money. I just think that these are issues that are in our DNA. I don't know. The city has come light years in terms of technology since the beginning of the pandemic, so I can't see why we couldn't find some way to make this work. But I think if we go to other missions and see if they're doing it, and if you can, you know, touch base with Malibu and find out how they're doing it, it just, in this age of live streaming, which I'm not asking for, it just seems like it's got to be a no-brainer.
Yeah, and in terms of the money, I mean, it obviously costs money for this equipment, but in the grand scheme of things, I mean, we're to sort of rig up a single room, we're talking like, you know, a few $1,000s or something like that. And you were just mentioning earlier how the mobility programs, you know, that had a budget of like $600,000 a year, right? For the amount of money that it would cost to, you know, sort of bring accessibility for these meetings to the entire community. You know, I mean, it's just a huge benefit for not really that much money in the grand scheme of things.
I just think we have to bring these things to their attention. And, you know, I know the city staff has a lot going on. I know city council has a lot going on. But the reality is, if they don't make a concerted effort, maybe not just us, they're going to get sued. And the last thing the city wants is another lawsuit.
Yeah. Maybe we approach this like the tech world. Just in parallel, we work on, you know, request the hardware, but if we go with the MVP, I mean, I'll bring my laptop and walk around to each person talking if that's what we got to do. I mean, I just don't get how we can get a minimal viable product going while we figure out the procurement. A laptop with an extended microphone could get some involvement you know, it would just increase access exponentially with that minimum effort while we figure out where we have to go.
Yeah, we could
and an
even
extended
just
microphone.
Yeah, make a YouTube live streaming on Facebook. You know, those things don't cost money, so that'd be a kind of scrappy thing for us to do.
Or Microsoft has a streaming option, like, or you know, I could go to the meeting and log into Teams, and be in person and on Teams and multitask. I mean, again, it goes back to that comment earlier about creativity. I think we got the creativity in this room to get something off the ground that we can pilot, and we get better each time. And simultaneously, we'll figure out how to get the resources we need to do it right. But having nothing just doesn't sit well. It just doesn't sit well with me. Yeah. And any more comments? I think I've kind of said all I got to say about it.
Hopefully we can gain enough information to take to David White before March so that maybe something can get started so that we have it by June. Or, you know, we never had a retreat last year. We have brand new board members that we haven't met, and some of them we haven't really seen. It wasn't until we had teams that we had a stable picture, a stable So we went a long time with, Blue James was an absolute disaster for us in terms of accessibility. And we had to beg for Teams, and we finally got it.
Yeah. We'll do some outreach now, and we'll do a lot of outreach after March's meeting as well, because then we'll have all the information,
Mhm.
all that extra information to give an even more compelling reason.
Mhm.
I'm going to move to, unless there's any last glaring comments, I'm going to move to 5F3, 5FII. This is the ad hoc committee examining the state of the accessibility of recreation programs. All three commissioners are out, so I'm gonna move on from this one. They didn't email me an update, so I'm gonna move to 5F4, new ad hocs. I just wanted to open it up. If anyone's interested in, excuse me, perhaps starting a new ad hoc or any thoughts about that? I know we talked about, we got May's mental health coming up.
I really think we should wait until we have more commissioners before we decide, because an ad hoc is going to have to be at least 2 people who work on a project together.
This will be good in person next month too to talk about. I think we'll get some good. This is a good like in person thing to talk about too. But Commissioner Antonini.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Commissioner Lingellis. So I've kind of been thinking about issues around housing and accessibility. So I'm actually glad Commissioner Gray is in attendance tonight. This maybe bleeds a little bit into the next agenda item about the liaisons, but I feel like we kind of missed the ball on the last arena cycle. So we're a little bit late on really having much of an impact on Santa Monica's plans for furthering fair housing and all that. But nevertheless, I think it would be useful, even if it's after the fact, to provide some input on Santa Monica's plans for this upcoming cycle. So I'll wait, and I guess until next month when we have the in-person meeting and hopefully more commissioners around to formally propose this ad hoc. But yeah, I think there's some scope there for us to provide a bit of input.
That sounds like a great plan. Yeah, so I think bringing back this item on new ad hocs to next meeting sounds like where we'll go with it, unless anyone really has. Commissioner Kesmay Dodge, are you?
What?
Oh, sorry, I saw your thing light up. I thought you were wanting to comment.
Yeah.
Misfire. So I'm going to keep the agenda moving. 5G, discussion and possible action on establishing liaisons for Santa Monica boards and commissions. I think this kind of is similar to the new one. Actually, I think I made a mistake. This is also supposed to be updates from our liaisons. Are there any liaisons on the call that have any updates or want to check in here?
Yeah, I can give a quick update. So unfortunately, I was not able to actually attend the Housing Commission meetings, but I have gone through the agenda of the last 2 meetings. So one is, I think, of some relevance to us. There is a proposal to amend the housing trust guidelines around accessibility for people with disabilities. In my mind, all the proposed changes seemed pretty reasonable to me. They, in the original, for instance, it sort of identifies as a protected class those with physical disabilities, and in the proposed amendment now it just simply says disabilities. So that sort of encompasses those with mental disabilities as well. I don't know if there's a way for me to link or provide a link in this meeting, but if so, I could maybe provide a link to that. But if not, you can find it on the Housing Commission agenda. The second item that was of relevance to us is there's a long report on the assessment of fair housing for Santa Monica. It's like more than 300 pages long, but they have quite a good section on sort of the implications for those with disabilities. It's about 30 pages long. It's actually quite a good read. It sort of goes through, first of all, the sort of the demographics of, just breaking down the different, the different affected populations, those with hearing disabilities, visual disabilities, ambulatory disabilities, and so forth. And they actually have some maps that try to estimate kind of the distribution of people throughout Santa Monica. But then kind of the meat of it is in trying to determine whether or not these different, basically in what aspects are, different subsets of people disadvantaged or not by Santa Monica's sort of housing situation. And as you can imagine, one of the things that they mention is that, that there's quite a substantial difference in like median income between people who do not have a disability versus those who do. Those who do not, it's like $53,000 a year. Those who do, it's around $20,000 a year. So, in a city like Santa Monica where rents are as high as they are, that obviously is has a pretty big impact. So anyway, I recommend if anyone's interested, giving a read through that. I mean, I can't really summarize all 30 pages and without spending like an hour doing so. But it is pretty comprehensive. I think that the one aspect I would be interested to see a little bit more in is kind of how all of this ties into both transportation issues. The report did touch on that to some degree, but I feel like a lot of the housing discussions in Santa Monica have kind of been focused just on like housing itself. But of course, most people need to get to a job, they need to get to a grocery store, they need to get to the doctor. Transportation is a pretty integral part of someone's life and someone's housing situation. And so it does seem to be sort of issues around transportation and issues around housing seem to be kind of separated in a way that I don't think makes too much sense. And then kind of the other issue that I don't think has been talked about too much is kind of issues around like respiratory health and respiratory disabilities. There's people who have like say COPD or various kinds of like lung issues will tend to be more sensitive to pollution. Of course, Santa Monica has, there are different areas of Santa Monica that have differing levels of air pollution. Of course, if you're close to the airport or close to the freeways, those issues will be exacerbated. And unfortunately, a lot of the, proposed new housing tends to be in those areas that have a lot of traffic, and correspondingly, higher air pollution. Now, in some ways, this is kind of like unavoidable because, if you want higher accessibility, you want to be close to bus lines, transit, things like that. There's kind of no getting around that. But for those who say don't have ambulatory disabilities but do have respiratory disabilities, having more access to housing in areas further away or with sort of higher quality air is important too. So anyway, that's kind of that seemed to be one one aspect of this which I haven't seen discussed too much. But yeah, I'll leave it there.
No, I appreciate that update and all the analysis on that. And just FYI is you can share stuff, just BCC everybody if you have like if you want to share that great article and any insights. I don't.
Excellent.
It's unreasonable to summarize 30 pages, but you had some real good bullets. If you want to throw on there, you could BCC on it.
I'll definitely do that.
And just when you were talking about not mentioning transportation, I think you sent it to me, but now you got me thinking about like just there's a shortage around like in-home supportive surfaces and behavioral health workforce shortage. So all those things that make people stay and thrive in housing, there's shortages around that are outside of housing itself. Just made me think. I don't know if it's related, but sorry, Commissioner Link-Ellis, I think I cut you off.
That's really interesting, especially since the city did not submit something along the housing process, which allowed developers to be able to come in and do more of what they want to do. So you look at Lincoln, they're building 3 more complexes on Lincoln and Colorado. They already have 2 buildings. One is open, half empty, and then the other one. So they're creating housing, but I was talking to one girl today, and she pays $3,700 a month for a studio.
Yep.
So obviously, her parents have to subsidize it. Who can afford that?
Yep.
So I just think that they've taken the approach that they're going to go dense because then everybody will walk and whatever. But that just doesn't apply to everyone. I don't know. I am the liaison for the city council, and there was a big issue going back and forth about these new digital kiosks that are going to be put up in the city, and the city staff made a recommendation for a certain company, and we never knew about it. So they didn't come to any of the commissions to ask for their input, and especially our commission, and they went with the other company who I hadn't had the opportunity to see, but a lawsuit was threatened, and the end result is now the 2 companies are now going to be working together. They've partnered, and the company that has the software will be working with the other company who has only done billboards. They've never done digital kiosks. So that's how it came out. But it was a really messy process. I think that's why they're doing the human services RFPs that they're involving people in, because the scoring was apparently so off than the other one, but that's not something we would know about unless we were part of the process. So I'm really happy to know about agenda item 13 because I think we're going to be putting it to good use this year. You're muted.
I'm glad we have a Commissioner Gray here. That'll be a good connection for you, Commissioner Antonini. I know we've tried to synergize with those. It's been a crazy pandemic. But moving forward, I think there's a lot of synergy there, and appreciate your update. Just want to check in. I don't think there's any other liaisons, so I think we can. We'll bring this back next month when we meet in person. So if and for the new commissioner, there's other commissions in the city, and you can be a liaison, and often they will attend the meeting or review the meeting minutes or the agenda or watch the recording and bring back updates to our commission and see if there's ways to work together, etc. So Commissioner Antonini is the liaison for the Housing Commission, and he's trying to follow them, and he identified some things we may be able to work together on. So just wanted to throw that out there as another opportunity to get engaged with the commission. If that's something that interests you, if there's a commission in the city, bring it to an upcoming meeting, whether it's arts, recreation, whatever you're interested in, feel free to bring that up. And there's plenty of openings for liaisons if that's something you want to do.
Oh, one thing I wanted to ask quickly, actually of Noe, is about the links to the video recordings for the Housing Commission meetings. I noticed that those links on the website are expired, or I didn't have permission to view them. I'm not sure if they're supposed to be up like sort of permanently or not, but
yeah, so the city has this like time limit of 3 days at a time before video expires, and there's no way of changing that. And because we are on Teams, I have to manually do that every 3 days. Sometimes I forget, but we are in the process of transferring all of the video recordings onto YouTube. And it's just going to take a little bit of time, but soon they'll all be hosted on YouTube and will not have that expiration period.
okay, cool. That'll be great. I'm looking forward to that.
Actually, this makes me think too, as part of our ad hoc, is we should get Teams Premium. That just came out, but that also maybe something we could circle back on. Has a lot of cool features that I think would make these meetings even more accessible once we go hybrid. Bit of a tangent, but thanks for that update, Noah, and that's good to hear that they'll be on YouTube. That makes them even more accessible. Okay, I'm going to move to 5H, future agenda planning. And again, we'll discuss this next month as well, but I did want to give one update is we did reach out to, I want to get his name right, the new DEI coordinator.
Paolo.
Velasco.
Paulo Velasco, yes. And he said he will be at March's meeting. He wasn't able to make it this month, so that'll be a good way to kick off our first in person, and I think we'll have a good robust discussion, and that's a relationship we want to make. Accessibility is a key part of DEI efforts, so there's some synergy, and I think that'll be a good person to work with and start to build that relationship. I'm looking forward to that. And then I know we talked about for May doing some mental health related. So just wanted to put that on the agenda. So we kind of have 2 of the next 3 months with some themes on it. But any ideas or thoughts? And we just brought up today, we got to engage the ADA coordinator. But any ideas for future agenda? Go ahead, Commissioner Lingalis.
Have the ADA coordinator or the person who's responsible to responding to come. And also to have Mode come and do a new presentation, because I'm sure post-pandemic things have changed. And then see if we can get one of the council members to come.
These are great. Follow-up question for the inviting the ADA coordinator. Do we want her to request she talk related to 5E today, like about some of those topics relating to our role as a commission? Like, I want to get her feedback on public hearing and that compliance review update. And her feedback on how we could resume those 2 processes that are within our scope. And then just kind of overview and just a meet and greet and start to build that relationship. It's been kind of hard. Because I think it's key that we can work together and be strong partners. Okay, so I have ADA coordinator, city council. That's something we've talked about a lot, and I think that'll be good, and I'll reach out to them some more. And May is Mental Health Month.
I mean, we could even do something like, in the past, we've had panels with vets, we've had movies, we've had Dee Hirsch. Maybe we could think about having somebody from, like, the St. Joseph's Center. They have a brand new executive director. I'm sure you can think of some people.
Yeah. I know there's some groups that are focused on disability issues, the intersection of disability, deaf, hard of hearing, blind, visual impairments, and physical disabilities and mental health. So I can see if maybe they could come out, kind of that expertise around mental health.
Have you ever seen the Ken Burns production on?
Yeah, the new one.
We've discussed it before. I went to, it was St. Monica's did a panel, and they did trailers of the various people that were featured in it. It's all about, I think it was called Hiding in Plain Sight.
That sounds right.
And it was about kids. And it was interesting because a couple of people on the panel, we ultimately found out, had gone through the whole process, and had come out to the side where they now were working with this group. I don't know if I can find out, but they would be. It was a terrific presentation. Maybe we can do something on a bigger scale.
Yeah, I think last year the Social Services Commission did a panel on mental health.
We've had so many panels. Yeah.
Yeah.
We get permission to show this. Okay, I'll check it out.
And then I think in June or July we have to have elections and things as well. So if anyone's interested, start thinking about if you're interested in being chair, vice chair, or another role. And a retreat. We still got to do that. But I'm just concerned that we're already getting to March. We usually have those in July when we start that new round of terms. So maybe that'll be something we do like August.
Yeah.
That sounds like a good time to do it. But we have some great ideas. Catherine, did I see you lighting up again? Do you have a comment?
I believe it's Commissioner Gray, actually.
All right, I'll just want to check in with the commissioners. If there's no more comments, I'll open it up to the public. All right, Commissioner Gray, you want to unmute yourself for 2 minutes?
Sure, thanks. I'm not sure if these are things that you've addressed before, but since you mentioned the ADA coordinator, I would love to see advocacy for a dedicated ADA coordinator for the city. We're also separately advocating for a dedicated ADA coordinator for the Housing Authority, which has already been recommended in the Fair Housing Assessment in 2020 and hasn't been taken up. But the current ADA coordinator is the designated ADA coordinator, but she already has a full-time job. So it's like being the safety, person. If you're evacuating from a building, she has a full-time job that doesn't have to do with access. and she can be difficult to reach. And she does not involve herself with a lot of access issues in the city. So I think it would be great if the Disabilities Commission could work on advocating to the city that we need at least one single dedicated full-time ADA coordinator for the entire city. The other issue that I'd like to see, I don't know if you've discussed this or not, is COVID guidelines in the aftermath of the emergency declarations being ended, because masking is also an access issue. And I know that there are a lot of people, myself included, who are prevented from doing basic things like going to the doctor or getting groceries, because masking has become, not even really encouraged, much less required. And the city, being a city and having our own, I guess, health, I forget what they're called, but there's a head of health for the city. And they have the power to make those kinds of recommendations within the confines of the city. And I would love to see the city take it more seriously as an access issue. That's all. Thanks.
Thank you for your comments. Appreciate it. Any thoughts on and yeah, I totally agree. We need more human resources around ADA stuff in general. We in our equity letter, we recommended more human resources around ADA, and someone actually that can focus on the accessibility of digital spaces. But it seems like there's just not enough human hours to address housing citywide. It's just an under-resourced. It's just under-resourced period. I think we're aligned around that. All right, I'm any more comments around future agenda planning? I'm going to move to 10 public input. I'm going to open it up. Commissioner Gray, 2 minutes.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't even realize my hand was still raised, but I just wanted to say thank you guys for all the work that you're doing and looking out for us and trying to make the city a more accessible, welcoming place for all people to thrive, all residents and visitors to thrive. That's all. Thanks so much.
Thanks. I appreciate you coming. Appreciate you shared some real insights today that we can run with. So thanks for coming in. Glad you're here and glad Commissioner Antonini can start to build that connection with you. I think that's
absolutely
all
Commissioner Antonini. I'm here anytime.
Thanks. Yes, that would be great to meet.
I'm listed in the city if you're already in the city ecosystem. I'm easy to find.
Great.
I don't think there's any other members of the public, so I'm gonna move to adjournment, and I'm gonna make a motion to conclude the meeting. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Commissioner Link Ellis.
Yes.
Commissioner Antonini.
Yes.
Commissioner Kesmia Dodge.
Yes.
Commissioner Pagan Nucci.
Yes.
Sorry, I'll get it.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
And I yes. Thanks everybody. Thanks for coming today. This was a productive meeting, and I look forward to seeing everyone in person. March 6th, 6:30. Have a good one.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Good man.